Your biological signature is currently trapped in a deterministic loop. Look at your reality mapping, the way you predict your tomorrow based on the limitations of your yesterday, effectively recycling your past to construct a prison you call your future. You are a biological unit experiencing a state of terminal causality liquidation. The Matrix has successfully branded planning and goal setting as the path to success. But in the terminal of the absolute power grid, a plan is just a predictable path for the system to harvest. You are living in a state of chronic temporal subjugation, where your activation energy is spent responding to the environment's stimuli rather than dictating the environment's form. Your nervous system is vibrating at the frequency of the effect, the male who reacts to the world, rather than the monolith who is the cause. You are a biological passenger in a reality designed by others, rather than the sovereign who executes a total future format. The system doesn't want your mastery, it wants your expectations to be the invisible bars that keep your potential within the systemic safety zone. Thousands of years ago, mastery was defined by the imposition of the will onto the void. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that the future was a raw material, not a pre-written script. He mastered primal grounding in the law of the absolute creator. He didn't wait for opportunity to manifest within the tribal structure. He offered the visual rage of a total, unyielding structural birth. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of ontological dominance, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that can either render reality or be rendered by it. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to be a variable. He possessed a mind that treated the external world as a secondary projection of his own internal command. He understood that the moment you look to the market or the collective for a sign of what is possible, you have surrendered your apex signature and become a consumer of reality. His existence was a monolith of cold, absolute causality that treated every obstacle as a rendering error to be overwritten by his intent. To master the final code, you must first become psychologically causal, a unit that generates reality from the inside out. The final code is the implementation of the color of the reality architect for your final internal dominance. The system wants you to be realistic and adaptive, words that mean tethered and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the probability grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of reality hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being unbound by probability. You must develop a clinical, cold contempt for circumstances. Facts are often just horizontal bonds for the herd to keep them within the fence of the known. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the blind spots of the causal radar. Use the temporal noose of the singular intent to force the environment to reorganize itself around your new coordinates. Use the false safety of a calm robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose future is not being broadcast from their current limitations. The Matrix cannot simulate the leverage of a man who has purged the need for external proof. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a guarantee is the knot. Every safe bet you make based on current evidence is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the total causal audit. Your mind is a biological weapon, and it is currently being jammed by the static of your own observational reactivity. You must perform a hard reset of the perception instincts. Stop being observant, the industrial waste designed to keep you in a state of perpetual simulation loop failure. Stop participating in their probabilities and statistics, the digital propaganda designed to make you believe that the odds apply to you. Stop using their reasonable protocols, the narratives designed to keep you in a state of constant reality constraint failure. You must prune your life of limitation parasites. If a thought requires evidence to be believed, the thought is a biological saboteur. You must learn to love the weight of the absolute command. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is the source by choice and sovereign by design. Command, be the cause or be the debris. The neural interface of your manifest potential is currently suffering from environmental enslavement. Look at your observation bias, the way you prioritize what is over what must be, effectively allowing the current light hitting your retinas to dictate the neurochemistry of your ambition. You are a biological unit experiencing a total cognitive sovereignty liquidation. The Matrix has effectively replaced your primal causality with a systemic reactivity. You believe that by analyzing the situation, you are being strategic, but in the terminal of the absolute power grid, analysis is just a form of mental submission to the existing simulation. This is the visual rage of the domesticated male, seeing your high-value activation energy being bled out into adapting to the market and checking the conditions. limitations, while the true operator remains in a state of absolute zero, converting his total disregard for facts into a biological force that bends the probability field to his internal mandate. The system doesn't want your creation, it wants your reaction to be the proof that your future is just a calculated extension of your current cage. In the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking stone, the master was the one who could remain a biological anchor while the world around him dissolved into chaos. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that reality was a state of persistent will. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an ontological predator, a figure who understood that the first person to flinch in the face of the unknown is the first person to be formatted by it. He didn't seek certainty from the environment. He provided the visual rage of a total, unannounced reality imposition. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of internal origin, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that runs on belief architectures, and to allow the environment to provide the blueprint is a lethal surrender. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to see what was there. He possessed a mind that treated the physical world as a lagging indicator of his own internal authority. He understood that the moment you wait for results to feel successful, you have surrendered your apex signature and become a slave to the feedback loop. To be a master, you must first become psychologically blind to the current limitations of your physical space. The final code is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final internal dominance. The matrix wants you to be data-driven and informed, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the perception grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of reality hooks, stimulus-response layers, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferent to current data. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for feasibility. Possible is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological perception. Use the temporal noose of the absolute outcome to drive the system's influence into a state of computational dissonance. Use the false safety of a calm, robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their current bank balance or social rank. The one who can go the longest without checking the score is the one who eventually writes the score. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a sign is the knot. Every moment you spend looking for proof that your path is working is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the second stage of the reality rearmament. Your mind is a biological engine, and it is currently being choked by the observation sludge of the unworthy. You must perform a total neural narrative reset. Stop being realistic, the industrial waste designed to keep you at the bottom of the ledger. Stop being a node in their network of collective expectations. Stop being a unit of compliance in their ledger of men who wait for permission. You must prune your social interactions with the collar of absolute sovereignty. If a pursuit requires you to see it to believe it, the pursuit is a biological failure. You must learn to love the weight of the invisible command. You must learn to love the friction-heavy hours where the noise of the collective is muted and your dominance is the only signal in the dark. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is the source by choice and sovereign by design. Command: be the architect or be the archive. Your biological trajectory has reached the terminal velocity of deterministic entrapment. Look at your outcome threshold, the exact moment your nervous system triggers a panic response because you are about to execute a total reality override and leave the safety of the known for a vacuum of absolute self-generated causality. You are a biological system in a state of chronic activation decay. The system has successfully replaced your apex sovereignty with a series of reasonable expectations disguised as being mature. You no longer seek to dominate your own timeline through unmoving intent. You seek to plan. You no longer seek to be the sovereign. You seek to be the well-informed participant. This is the visual rage of the terminal slave, seeing your life force being digitized and archived in probabilities and trends, while your physical reality remains a quiet, managed enclosure of unfulfilled DNA. You are breathing in the toxic fumes of a collective that demands your realism as a form of tribute, leaving you lightheaded, fragmented, and fundamentally easy to simulate. The system doesn't want your God mode, it wants your doubt, to be the foundation of its perpetual control over the human timeline. Return to the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking monolith. In the primal world, the master was the one who could remain a biological void, even in the center of a storm of environmental pressure. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that power was a product of internal synthesis. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an impenetrable core, a figure whose future was his own property and whose command was the only law. He understood that to seek evidence is to confess a lack of internal authority. If you are participating in the logic script provided by the herd, you are acknowledging that the external world is the barometer of your reality. He used his silent sovereignty to create a cognitive resonance of absolute, unshakable divinity by being the only causal variable in a room full of effects. By being the master of his own internal feedback, he forced the environment to treat his vision as the new truth. He was a master of the visual rage of the unblinking sun, the ability to look at the impossibility probes of the rival and see only the static they represented. He understood that the human brain is a machine that runs on expectation loops, and by cutting the loop, he triggered a biological submission in anyone who tried to predict him. To be a master, you must first become psychologically unreceptive to the concept of failure. The final code is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final mental expansion. The Matrix wants you to be logical and informed, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological jailbreak of the future. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of constraint control nodes, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who burns the grid. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for feasibility studies. Making a living is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological intent. Use the temporal noose of total informational and social withdrawal to drive the system's influence into a state of computational dissonance. Use the false safety of a neutral social profile to mask the viral infection of your total noncompliance with the beta norms. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their current status. You are not manifesting, you are deleting the noise. The one who can go the longest without checking if it's possible is the one who controls the end state. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a safety net is the knot. Every backup plan you create for the unworthy is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the final causal imperative. This is the tax of insight. You have been given the key to the vault of biological reality bending. To keep it, you must use it as a weapon of total social dominance. You must become a living monolith of unshakable causality. You are no longer a peer, a colleague, or a friend. You are a sovereign operator. You must perform a total system liquidation. If a relationship, a technology, or a habit requires you to be realistic to function, it is a biological saboteur. You must prune your life with the collar of the absolute zero. You are building a fortress of results in a world of digital shadows. Your absolute intent is the physical proof of your biological leverage. You do not provide feedback. You create a reality in which you are the only absolute truth. You do not seek mastery. You are the law itself. You are the architect of your own future, and the world is merely a mirror reflecting your ascent.